Have you ever prayed and felt like your words hit the ceiling? You weren't doubting God. You weren't rebelling. You were just tired. You asked for clarity, silence. You asked for direction, silence. You asked for relief, still silence. And after a while, the silence starts to feel personal. You begin to wonder, did I do something wrong? Is God disappointed in me? Is he ignoring me? Or worse, has he left? If you've ever felt that, I need you to hear this carefully. God's silence is not the same as God's absence. Silence is uncomfortable. In relationships, silence usually means conflict, distance, or disinterest. So when God feels silent, we interpret it through human experience. If a friend stops replying, we assume something is wrong. So when heaven feels quiet, we assume rejection. But silence does not automatically equal neglect. Sometimes silence means space. Sometimes silence means growth. Sometimes silence means trust. Think about a teacher during an exam. When the test begins, the teacher stops talking. Not because they abandon you, but because it's time for you to apply what you've learned. And maybe what feels like silence is actually a season of development. We often read the Bible quickly and skip the waiting parts. But Scripture is full of silence. Abraham waited years for a promise. Joseph was betrayed, imprisoned, and forgotten. David was anointed king and then spent years hiding in caves. And between the Old and New Testament, there were 400 years of recorded silence. 400 years. But silence didn't mean God wasn't working. It meant preparation was happening. God does some of his deepest work underground. Roots grow in silence. Character forms in silence. Trust matures in silence. The loud seasons feel powerful, but the quiet ones build strength. Here's a perspective shift that might help. What if God feels silent because he trusts you more than you think? When you're learning to walk, someone holds your hand, but eventually they let go. Not to watch you fall, but because you're ready. Some of us want constant reassurance. God, show me a sign. God, confirm it again. Speak clearly. But growth requires movement without constant confirmation. Faith is not constant feedback. It's forward motion without full visibility. If God answered immediately every time, you wouldn't develop resilience. You develop dependence on signs. And sometimes silence builds stronger faith than constant miracles. When God feels loud, faith feels easy. But when he feels quiet, that's when trust is tested. Do you trust his character or just his responses? Do you trust his nature or just his noise? It's easy to believe when prayers are answered quickly. It's harder to believe when they aren't. But silence forces a deeper question. Is God still good even when I don't understand? And that question matures you. Because real faith is not built on constant emotional confirmation. It's built on anchored conviction. So what do you do when God feels silent? First, don't panic. Silence is not punishment. Second, stay consistent. Keep praying. Keep reading. Keep showing up. Not dramatic prayers, just honest ones. God, I don't feel you, but I'm still here. Third, check your expectations. Sometimes we expect God to speak loudly, but he often speaks quietly. Through wisdom, through peace, through counsel, through timing, and finally look back. Silence feels confusing in the present, but when you look back, you often see how God was guiding you all along. There's also a difference between silence and distance. Silence is about sound. Distance is about presence. God can be silent and still be close. Even Jesus cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" On the cross, it looked like silence, but resurrection was coming. Silence is often the space between promise and fulfillment, and that space is where transformation happens. If God feels silent right now, don't rush to fill the quiet with fear. Don't assume abandonment. Don't assume rejection. Maybe this is a season of strengthening. Maybe this is a season of deep roots. Maybe this is a season where you learn that faith is not built on volume, but on trust. God's silence is not his absence. He is not ignoring you. He is forming you. And one day you may look back and realize the quiet season was the one that changed you the most. If this message found you in a silent season, stay. You're not alone here, and neither is your faith. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe so you don't miss my next video.